Hey, it's Coach Taylor here from SmarterTeamTraining.com, and again, I'm always looking for ways to gain an edge, and I've been talking to people all over the place, and this guy named Bert Sorin keeps coming up, to be very honest with everybody, and I didn't know much about him, to be very fair. I actually Googled him a little bit and found out that we were connected on LinkedIn. I shot him a LinkedIn message, and again, using social media to connect with people and to learn from one another, and just generally just to reach out to people to find out what's working for them. It's something I don't think a lot of people take advantage of. You're just following people to follow people, and you're not really using it as a way to gain knowledge or to just expand your network and really get a chance to know people that are working in the field. And so, Bert, man, I really appreciate you taking some time of your day to respond to the email, obviously, but getting on the phone today is going to be a real privilege to actually get a chance to talk to you, my man.
Hey, Rob, I really appreciate it, man. It was cool to get that email from you, and you just kind of caught me at a second that I had a minute to get back with you, and hopefully it'll work out well for both of us. I'm looking forward to having a good conversation and talk some shop.
To be very fair with everybody on the show here, I don't know much about you, your business, how you got involved in the field, all that type of thing. So I went and Googled you, and so I just, obviously stirred up whatever you can on Google and that type of thing. But as much as you can read about your background and what you did in 1992 or whatever it is, can you tell me a little bit about who you are from the passionate side of you? I mean, what really got you involved in the field, and really what kind of stokes your fire, my man?
Sure. Well, right on. Well, you can't really talk about any of the athletic endeavors of the 90s or on into the more recent times without looking at the history of it. And I was fortunate enough I don't want to say be born into it, but my father, Richard Sorin, was a kind of a forefather of the modern strength movement. He was a guy that was back in the old York barbell days and Olympic weightlifting and really pioneered a lot of the grip training, the hand grip training in the 1980s, and brought things like thick bars and blobs and grippers and things like that. So I grew up around it, which you don't understand that as a kid. You just see, wow, Dad's picking up really big, heavy things, and no one else can do it, but you just kind of go on with it. But as I grew up, the love of the iron game and the love of human performance and learning and seeing the passion within my home life obviously carried over to me. To when I went to college, I walked on as an athlete at South Carolina in 1994 as a track and field athlete, and that was when I got really my first love of really what weight training at a higher level and what human performance training could bring you as an athlete. And so, long story short, sparing the details, 4 years later, team captain, SEC champion, couple-time All-American, blah, blah, blah. But the key of that is not of the accolades. It was the process. It was the process that I learned to love, and that was training hard, the grind, learning from my fellow competitors, my fellow teammates, just learning the iron game and learning to love it, learning to love putting heavy weight on your back, and to dream of being strong the next day, and having that forward mindset to pay for it today, to know it's going to come out better tomorrow. And that's really who I am as a person, or a portion of who I am. And again, it's from maybe fertile soil that I was fortunate enough to be born into, and then I think through a lot of hard hours in the gym and on the field, I was able to fertilize that. That's kind of where I was at that point. Moving on into my later career as an athlete, and then more into a serious business person at Sorin, I was able to connect with the coaches at a more and more of a level and learn more and more from them. And what I think I became was a common denominator among some of the best minds in the industry. And it wasn't because of myself. It was just because of the situation I was in. The coaches would tell me things that they wouldn't tell each other. And after a while, I got to know most of the great ones, regardless of the field specifically of strength and conditioning. And by that happening, my knowledge wealth grew. And again, it wasn't due to me, it was due to the people I was able to come in contact with. So it was really about the company that I kept. And that was what drives me on today to be deeper and deeper into the iron game, learn more and more, and to change more lives and to give back to what it's given me over the last 3 decades. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much who I am and what I'm about.
I get a chance to talk to a bunch of people now in the private community or private sector of our field, and oftentimes they're asking me questions about what they can do to upgrade their facility and equipment-wise. I mean, I'm an equipment junkie, man. I love having new things to play with and try and get a chance to do that type of thing. And I'm always interested, obviously on your side of things, you guys are creating and developing and getting a chance to talk to people on a daily basis. I mean, that's what you do. I mean, what things should I know before designing a new weight room or even updating my current facility?
Right. Well, it's kind of funny that you say that about being a gear and equipment guy. I've kind of laughed that if I wasn't owner of Sorin X, I'd probably be our best customer. Because I'm a gear guy myself, and that's probably what part of the excitement and the passion is, that I like seeing what pieces of equipment can make my day as a athlete or a coach better or more effective or quicker to that end goal. So that's a side note. I definitely understand what you mean. If you were designing it, when people come to me and they want to design a weight room, which is really what we specialize in, designing training solutions, the first thing I would say, it wouldn't exactly be what most people would think. I would say take a sabbatical, go around and talk to some of the best coaches and trainers in the nation, spend some long distance minutes, read a lot, and really gather as much information as you can about training. Put it against what you're currently doing and see if some things stick. See if some things work in your mind of things that you feel like that you could carry out. Because the weight room or the gym is only going to be a physical manifestation of tools to what your training goals and training mindset and paradigm actually is. So learn that first. You get your requirements down of how you want to run your ship, and then go look for the tools. Now, of course, some of the most basic but some of those valuable tools are generally the simplest things. It's going to be your rack. It's going to be a great bar. It's going to be your bumper plates or your regular weights, whatever they may be. And so those are the things that any great program are built upon from an equipment side. But what I'll also say is if you're going to get the simplistic rack and things of those nature, you need to learn as many exercises as possible on those simple pieces. And if there are some small changes that you can make with those pieces to open up whole nother worlds of training, whether it be tempo or joint angle or angle of attack of the bar or speed or any ways to look at that, tweak that as much as you can and give yourself as many opportunities to succeed before you move to the next piece of equipment. Master what you have, but put as much time, money, and effort and raise the bar as high as you can for those first pieces, because that's what the whole system is going to be built upon. Those are the things I would say if you're going to design a facility that you need to look at on the first bit of it. And if you're a coach, you need to be concerned about the traffic flow through your room. How does the layout work? How are your management skills going to be tested with your number of athletes? How is the safety being taken into account? So those are the things I would say right away that I would look at with my customer.
I've been very lucky to talk to a lot of equipment manufacturing CEOs, all the way to the people who weld the pieces together, to be very honest. And it's awesome to get a chance to hear how their creative minds actually work just a little differently. They can see a problem in the field per se, and actually come up with a solution that can fix that identified, if you want to call it that, problem scenario. I mean, how did you go about noticing a need for your products in the field? And if you wouldn't mind walking us through potentially one or two different products you got going on there that are really solve a need.
Oh, absolutely. I think the easiest and the simplest reason was that we've been able to do that year in, year out is because of the passion of training and the search for knowledge. So for years, my office literally opened up into our training center. So I had the same view every day as a collegiate or a professional or even a high school strength coach. So I watched a training center daily and real-life athletes training, trying to get to the next level. So I could look out there and make literal on-the-fly adjustments of a piece of equipment or a tempo or an ordering of exercises right on the fly. And so I would see bottlenecks. I would see safety concerns. I would see different things. And so it wasn't that I was sitting on a deserted island or in a think tank. It was being in the field is the key, I believe. And that's the only way to create solutions if you have a very firm grasp on what the problems are. First thing, and just a few examples, one of them being the landmine. The landmine is a extremely popular piece. It seems like just about everybody makes them these days. The landmine was something that my dad and I invented in 1999, and it was literally just to solve a problem with a movement I wanted to do when I was training for the 2000 Olympic trials in the hammer. It was to train rotary force in the hammer, and obviously my core, rotation, anti-rotation, things like that. And it was never even meant for sale. It was something that was meant for my secret training device. I used it for close to a year. A couple coaches came by our training center, loved it. They asked for them, and it's probably one of the most usable pieces of equipment ever created, I would say. And the neat part about it would literally came from grassroots, or the CrossFit rigs, as people know them. That was just a solution. I watched folks welding in these giant custom rigs in their boxes, and I knew there had to be a better way. They're welding these giant things to do pull-ups on. I said, well, if you're going to have already vertical uprights, why not have holes in them and turn them into squat racks, and then break them apart where they're completely customizable and you could ship them. And it was a whole concept. And I have to say that one I actually did draw up on a napkin while I was out having dinner, what I felt that would work. And then we of course brought back to the HQ here, and we worked on it. And that's something that's changed literally the way that the weight rooms are set up now, whether they be CrossFit boxes, high schools, colleges, and all of it came from seeing a need that wasn't being met. And right now, you'd ask about some things we're working on now. We're working on a recovery series, and it came from a need. It came from me being an older athlete. I'm 37 years old. I've trained for close to 30 years, and I competed for 20. And so at times my body's pretty jacked up. So I had to come up with solutions that I could give myofascial release, soft tissue work, and do my recovery work with minimal output of energy to do it. And so we have a new recovery series that's coming out with all different, the trigger bar and the trigger rollers that lock onto our racks. And that's changing the game within the NFL and the college teams right now. And that's a newer piece, but you're going to see that more and more. But again, it still comes from the same source, which is necessity.
How often does user feedback contribute to the redesign or even the evolution of your products? I mean, how often do you go about reaching out to people to hear about how it's working for them? Does that feedback actually even do anything as far as impact how you are designing equipment? And do you even do test groups or that type of thing? I mean, how does a piece go from the concept of in your head to actually getting on the floor and being produced?
We have a group of a certain customers that we trust for them to, I guess, kind of keep it under wraps, because obviously when we're doing a pilot of a certain product, we don't want everyone to know about what's going on until it's a saleable piece. So we'll have a few of our college or pro coaches who will send some things to let them try things out. We have some folks here in town that are very knowledgeable, as well as our staff, and we'll get feedback from folks that we trust that we know will shoot us straight. Excuse me. As far as feedback of a public variety, social media, things like that, we pay attention to it. It's nice to see. We don't have a whole lot of direct feedback of, I wish this bolt was here or this lever was there. Sometimes we do, and of course we take that into account. We read everything that they put on our social media sites, because they're our customers, they're our people. The feedback really on those sites do more for me, just to let us know on a large direction if we're moving in the right direction and if we're getting traction with our customer base. If we're making them happy, then that's a success, regardless what the dollars and cents say. If we know we're changing the strength world for positive, that's our target.
When you go through the process of developing products, whether it's racks or anything else you got going, even the landmines for that matter, I mean, what are some things that really go easy for you, and then what are some things that maybe potentially are difficult?
Probably one of the easiest things to do is, as I said before, were the pieces that almost kind of come out of a flow state that you just kind of zone out a little bit, and you've thought of something you need, and literally myself or my father will walk out in the shop, usually after the doors have closed and everyone's gone, and I'll do some welding myself and kind of get back to that artistic side of just what feels right, just what seems like it would make sense and feels right for what maybe have been running around in our heads for a while. That stuff is easy because it's fun, and anything when you're in that positive flow state that's kind of in your zone, that stuff is easy. Honestly, one of the harder things, but equally as entertaining and interesting, are when a customer comes to us with a specific requirements that says, okay, this sled needs to be this big, it needs to weigh this much, it needs to be able to do this, and it needs to be able to hit this price point. And that's the more requirements you put on something, obviously, the more rarefied that solution can become. It's kind of like working backwards. You're having to fill out all these line items to make this work for a customer, and that's what we specialize in, doing that. But at that point, now I'm coming up with a solution in someone else's baby, if that makes sense. So that loses a little bit of its organic piece and becomes more problem-solving than really an artistic approach. I think we do that very well, but sometimes it comes out a little bit different than the customer was originally wanting or what they had in their mind. But after going back and forth with them and making sure that they're educated properly and we get more and more feedback, I think we usually come out with something that everyone's very excited about. And one example of that is a piece we call the Frankenhyper. It's a reverse hyper glute ham combination that was done for one of our customers, and for years it was said that it couldn't be done. And I think 8 renditions into it, we finally came up with something that met all of the requirements and the needs, and it's been a home run within the college and pro community, and it fits exactly what they're looking for. But it was a painstaking process. So that's kind of what goes through the piece of coming up with a piece or coming up with a new product. Now, the parts that we're trying to get better and better at, my own personal challenges are to make it cost effective for the customer, because we've always targeted excellence and the best product possible, not necessarily the cheapest product. We've never been low cost provider. We've always chased excellence. And so usually you could have great quality, great service, or great pricing. You could usually have 2 of the 3, but it's almost impossible to have 3 of the 3, because you become lukewarm somewhere in there. So if you want to have great product and a great service, it's usually going to cost more, and that's not considered great pricing. Or if you shift it over towards the pricing, something has to be sacrificed at some point. So we have to really look and really look at our brand and look what our customers expect from us, and really where our heart is set of what we think is the most important pieces to have involved, so we could live up to what we believe in, if that makes some sense. But the things like shipping, packaging, all of that is honestly is frustrating for me, because it's boring. It's not as fun, but it's something that we have to take care of. So I have a great staff that works really hard to make sure those things happen.
When you have products like the Landmine and the Frankenhyper and just the products in general, as a product-based company, I mean, how important is the education of the consumer? I know you guys run a conference and an event there, and I mean, how has that really helped elevate your users' engagement with your product?
It's been everything. Anytime you're in a product-based company, especially if you're in an innovative product-based company, if that's what you specialize in, is making new solutions, the education is almost the number one thing you have to do, because if you're going to uncharted territory, it's hard to keep everyone on the same page with you. And that's honestly been our biggest problem as a business over the last 34 years is slowing down long enough to remember to educate our customer base what we're going for. That's something that as a business owner I'm having to kind of retrace my steps and go back and, hey, let's make sure that everyone really understands what the base camp rack or the Frankenhyper or some of these other pieces, landmines and things like that can do, because other than that, only the top tier folks get it, and a lot of it's lost, and some of the rest of the folks that weren't educated properly. So I can't stress education enough, and that's something we're trying to get better and better at. But that's huge. That's a huge part of it. We have an event every year called Summer Strong, and the whole premise of Summer Strong was bring in some of the best educators, the best coaches, the best trainers, and put everyone in the same room for an extended period of time and let those brainstorming sessions just kind of roll over and basically make a weekend of a think tank. And some ideas and some friendships that have come out of those weekends have been second to none.
I want to talk to you a little bit as a businessman in the ballpark of branding as that goes, and how important is social media when developing your marketing plans, trying to align them with the brand you have going on, and really which platforms have really helped you spread your brand's message the most effectively?
It's a good and a bad thing to have an old business, and I'll say an old business. Like I said, we've been around 34 years, so to have a brand that was established prior to social media is different than one that's come out in the last 4 or 5, 6 years. So we've kind of had to relearn how to promote that brand, and we've retooled a little bit that brand with the American flag mustache and some things like that has had more traction within the social media community. So we're learning how important that has been, because up until 5, 6 years ago, word of mouth was our most important and our most successful method of marketing, which is very painstaking, but it's very heavy. When you have an NFL coach call his friend and say, you really need to go with these guys, they're the best, they made a weight room for this, that, and the other, that carries a lot of weight, but obviously that's not a mass replicatable way to do branding. So what we've had to do is learn a lot more about branding from a business side, and social media has been a big part of that, as far as T-shirts, stickers, patches, things like that. Like I said, with American flag mustache, that's something that's become extremely popular and kind of a favorite for a lot of our customers. And so I kind of laugh that almost every day, sometime on social media, I'll see someone with one of our shirts or doing the Bosco pose or something like that, and that makes me excited that not only we're making some advancements in our branding of our business, but also hopefully helping some folks out. That's the big key, is that we're getting traction to change lives.
With over 200 plus episodes now, I enjoy asking one question, and generally I do it off air, and I really kind of kick myself for doing it off air, not getting it on the show. And what do you see as the next big thing in training? I mean, we've gone from the gamut, from high intensity programming to Olympic only to even landmine to functional training to all these other things going on. I mean, what do you see as the next thing coming?
Yeah, I feel very strongly about this. I feel the next thing coming is recovery, and it's obviously here to an extent, but I don't think it's here to the full capacity of what it can be. And I think folks are just tying into the recovery, and you'll see that with the foam rollers and the sticks and things like that. But now I think the physical recovery is going to be bigger and bigger, and then it's going to go into nervous system recovery, mental recovery, things like that, how to shift from sympathetic to parasympathetic, how to make sure that the body is fully prepared and ready to perform. And I could, obviously they're doing that at the high levels already, but I could see more products and more training seminars getting to that stage, to the mass public, where they could start understanding and auto-regulating their training. And that's the big key, is who recovers best performs the best. And it's not about the training anymore. A great deal of people understand proper weightlifting protocol. They know how to push sleds. They know how to sprint. They know sprint mechanics. They know a rudimentary level of Olympic lifting and squats, all that great stuff. But that's just a part of the puzzle. You could do all the training you want and go break it off as much as you want, but if you can't recover from it, you're going to have a very short runway in this sport. So that's where training is going. That's what you're going to see in the next few years. And I'm excited to kind of be on the forefront of that with some of the folks that I know that I'm getting mentored by and some of the books that I'm reading. And so I'm just excited about the new frontier of the recovery side.
Obviously, you have your fingers involved with a lot of different aspects, going from back being an athlete to you being a strength and conditioning fitness professional and getting a chance to be on the floor with people, even into the business side, obviously. I mean, what's one big takeaway message that you hope that people get a chance to take from you when they get a chance to hear you speak? I mean, I don't care if it's at an opportunity at a clinic or a seminar type scenario or even in one of your business meetings. I mean, do you have one big motivational message that you really feel that is something you want to share?
Become a student of the event or a student of the lifestyle. Love it and just immerse yourself in it. And if you want to impress others, or if you want to get people behind you, then you have to do the work first. Go out there and you love what you're doing, and then just find a way to put yourself under a microscope and amplify what you're doing so people could see it and like it or not like it. At least then, at that point, you'll know that you're doing it for the right reasons. And if people love it, great. If they don't, that's fine. You're still staying true to yourself. And that's really where I see it. If people don't like how we're doing it, that's okay. But that's where we feel really strongly where we are. And so just invite people into your life and entangle yourself with other people as well, and just learn. Just learn from what this Iron Game has to offer. Become a student of it and enjoy the ride.
Well, Bert, man, I know you're a busy guy, and I don't want to keep you on the phone too long. Obviously, it's an honor and a privilege to get a chance to talk to you. And again, for anybody listening, it's actually pretty late on a Friday, and we were both joking before the show even got started that it's nice to sometimes just get a chance to unwind before the weekend gets started with a little bit of a slow day, and the two of us find time to get on the phone and hopefully get back to the field. If anybody wanted to reach out to you and learn more about what you have going on in any aspect, or just talk shop with you about the field as a whole, I mean, how can they really go about reaching out to you?
Well, they could hit us up on our website, sorinex.com, SORINEX.com, or you could email me, Bert, BERT, @sorinex.com. Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, all those fun social media pieces, and just give us a call, get up with us. We're pretty easy to find, and we'll be glad to help you out. It'd be awesome. I always love talking shop.
I'll reiterate what we said in the beginning of the show, man. It was an opportunity there at LinkedIn. We just connected. I just shot him a quick message, and we were on the phone together in a couple minutes. And then a couple weeks later, we're here doing the radio show. And again, Bert, man, I really applaud your passion for just getting in touch with me, to be very honest with you, on a personal level, and just being willing to be a busy dude that's willing to take some time out of the day to just respond to a curious email that was sent to you out of nowhere and kind of thing. And I applaud your professionalism there for how quickly you returned my inquiry, if you want to call it that. But, man, I look forward to just keeping in touch. Hopefully this is a launching pad for us to do things down the line here. And, again, thank you very much for getting on the show, my man.
Hey, thanks a ton, Rob. Have a great weekend, bud.